At the age of 20, 21 years old, I came to a point of desperation in my life. I was coming from a background where my father was a drug addict and my mother was an alcoholic, so the atmosphere and in the environment where I was raised, where I grew up, was surcharged with this negative vibes and influences, and I left my parents' home at a very early age, and I went to live with my grandma, and then I left my grandma's home as well, and I went to live with an aunt of mine, and I found a book called the Bhagavad Gita As It Is by Srila Prabhupada, and I read that book, I think in about a week, but after one day of reading that book, I decided to join a Krishna temple, and they say that when you are attracted to some sort of spiritual path, it's because you have been practicing, in your previous lifetimes. So for me, it was very easy to just accept the idea of the book. And the book discusses ideas about who is God, who are you, what is this world where we live, and what kind of relationship you have between yourself and God, and between yourself and the world where you live. What kind of, what's there to happen? What are you gonna do, or what are you gonna leave, as your history in the world? So it was very easy for me to just become vegetarian overnight, to just become a very spiritually centered person. And for 6 months, I was a member of the congregation. And after 6 months, I just decided, to become a monk officially. And I went to live with my spiritual master in countryside in Brazil. And for the next 7 years of my life, I was waking up every day at 3 o'clock in the morning and going to sleep before 9 o'clock in the evening. And it was during those years when people usually are having their sex, drugs, and rock and roll phase. Mm-hmm. So I was put into a different kind of experience, which is an experience responsible for my being alive today, for sure. Because if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't searched for a spiritual foundation on which I could go out in the world and live my life, I'm sure that I wouldn't be able to be here talking to you today. It was the best years of my life. But you needed to understand that I may call it on the best years of my life because I had the worst years of my life before those 7 years. I don't blame my parents for what they did to me. I love my dad, I love my mom. I talk to them to this day. And, today they're in a much better position, than they were during the days that I was growing up. And I told that to Parashakti once, the scars of everything that happened still live within you. And basically, like if you really want me to be honest, I don't remember one single day from my childhood when my father didn't get home drunk and high on drugs, and he just beat the crap of my mother, my 2 sisters, and me. I remember every night staying up late, just waiting for him to come back, so that when he started, beating my mother and my sisters, I would just go to him, just ask for him to stop it. Because by my asking him to stop, maybe he would stop. Usually he didn't, but it was a way for me to protect my mother and my sisters. I was 6, 7, 8. Those are the memories from my childhood. I just can't remember anything else. I was about to kill myself because I didn't see my father as a role model. I didn't see my mother as a role model. And I had absolutely no idea what to do with my life. And I had troubles with my own sexuality. I had troubles with my parents, I had trouble with my family. My family just couldn't understand what was going on with me. But I've always been a very independent person. If I can make things happen without anybody's help, that's what I'm gonna do, because for me, to put myself on a dependent position is something that I have been taught not to do. And when I joined the Krishna movement, I had absolutely no point of reference of what life would be. What I knew, it's such a traumatic situation that I was willing to put an end to it myself. So the next 7 years was 7 years of intense solitude and intense research inside myself and understanding of everything that happened, in the previous years, and picking up the pieces of me together and just trying to make sense of something new so that I could, live my life. Then I decided to leave the monastery and stopped being a monk on my own, because being in a monastery is a wonderful experience for you to deepen your spiritual practice. But I wanted to be able to share everything that I had learned with people. But what happened was that as soon as I left the monastery, as soon as I stopped being a monk, because I hadn't had my sex, drugs, and rock and roll, so eventually that's what happened. I was a monk, living in a monastery, and all of a sudden I just became, for reasons which I still don't understand and I haven't stopped to analyze on my own, I became this drug addict myself, and on a very self-destructive path. I've been struggling with a very powerful addiction to crystal meth. It's a methamphetamine, it's not coke, it's not pot, it's not heroin, it's the worst drug that you can get addicted to. Drugs are a way that I use to self-medicate myself and not deal with the issues that I really needed to deal. And I am very much aware of this. I was using so many drugs and so much crystal meth that I got really, really sick. I went down to 138 pounds, and I am like a 5'11" guy. I was able to remain sober on my own, isolating myself, which is something that drug addicts do a lot. They isolate themselves, and because they think that you can manage on your own. But isolation taught me. Isolation actually brought me several relapses. And the relapses are one of the worst things that can happen to a person who's trying to, get on with their lives free of addiction. And, having met Parashakti and having had sessions with her has taught me that, these things don't happen by chance. There is a specific time in a person's life when you really decided to connect with someone else. I believe that, if things also didn't have happened 3 years ago, I wouldn't be able to have met with her, have a one-on-one, and I have had the tremendous, help and the care and the support that she has, given to me so far. I like being a warrior. I like being a spiritual warrior. I like going in the back of my mind and get from there all the fears that I have and put them right on my face and deal with them. I don't suggest that to people because it's like being a soldier in the trance. It's the worst place and the very best place to be. It's the worst place because anytime, life can just come and kick you, and you can fall down from the spiritual path that you were walking. but it's also the very best place to be because it's the place where you see things for what they really are, where you see people for what they really are. There's no bullshit. So if there's anything that I could tell people who are on a spiritual path and they are looking to gain an understanding of their own is to be a spiritual warrior, be a soldier in a trance, and just bear the consequences. And sometimes I feel like I am on a intensive spiritual path. It's like I made a pact with God or whoever you call, God, a higher power, divine being to be. I made an intensive before my soul came into this body. I made a choice I don't want, the regular course. I want an intensive. I want, to be brought down to my knees so that I can really evolve and really come to a point where I can be of service to other people, but mostly to myself, because if I can't help myself, I can't help anybody else. One of the ways that an addict deals with his addictions is by isolating himself, because it's very shameful to recognize to yourself that you have problems, that you have issues. I go to NYCMA meetings, and sometimes I get really depressed, or I get bothered because it's so much identification. It's like you pointing to yourself and saying you have so many problems, you have so many issues, you got to deal with all these things. And I think the main support that I got from my sessions with Parashakti was to opening up my heart so that I could get out of my self-centeredness and being able to help myself by acknowledging that I was just powerless, not only before the drug, but before everything that had happened to me and that I thought to myself that I could handle on my own. I think that the most helpful so far benefit that I got was to get myself out of self-centeredness and put myself on a path where I would be willing to help myself by helping other people first.
There is a new door that you are committing to open for yourself. And I want you to feel through this darkness, through this silence, through this time and space, that you are freely letting go of the past and accessing this door to your soul that will allow you to walk through and listen. And just take a few deep breaths within this space that allows you to connect deeper and to welcome you to this new path that you've chosen for yourself. And to know that every day is a new day, and giving yourself that opportunity and that love that you embrace, that you deserve to receive yourself in this new way. And by sharing your story here today, it allows others to transform as they hear your voice through this project, through this work, through the group sessions that you're going to, through the work that you and I will do together, continue to do together. And so I want you to make a commitment, an inner commitment to yourself, again, and again. And when you're ready, I want you to speak that commitment out loud.
I want to make a commitment that I won't do to anybody else what I don't want them to do to myself. I know that I have darkness inside of me, and I'm going to try and overcome that darkness with the lightness that's coming very slowly, very painfully, but it's coming out of me to subdue the playing games and the manipulation of emotions, the cynicism and everything which is dark in nature that comes out of my mind and it brings me down to darkness over and over again. I make a commitment today, only for today, because I don't know what tomorrow will bring. Therefore, today, I don't want that darkness to be a part of my life anymore. Aho.
Aho.